Alle zusammen, guten Tag. Welcome to Pilbology. It's a beginner's level video which can be found on the beginner's level area of the YouTube channel. Today we are going to be looking at in der Klasse. In der Klasse meaning of the in class, and the use of du or Sie, both of which actually mean you. Now, there's often a bit of confusion in German, so let me just clarify something. There are three forms of Sie in German. So you've got the standard ich, du, sie, es. So you've got a version that means she. Wir, ihr, and sie. Sie meaning they. Okay, so the ending, say take an infinitive, is either going to be a T ending, generally a T ending, or a third person singular ending for she. So if you have the verb machen, you'd have sie macht ihre Hausaufgaben. Sie machen ihre Hausaufgaben. If I'm referring to my whole class, sie machen ihre Hausaufgaben. They do or they are doing. And also, the final form of Sie, which is the most fun, is here, and it means you. Okay, that can be confusing. Why can that be confusing? Let's, for now, forget about these. Okay, forget about them. And let's just focus on the fact that we've got another you in there. Right, if you were to look up here, you would notice that there's du, there's sie, and there's ihr. Du meaning you. I'm talking to you, that one person there, little Johnny. I'm talking to you, du. Ihr means Johnny is sat next to Janie, and I want to talk to them both. So I'm talking about you plural, ihr. So, ihr macht die Klassenarbeit. Okay, but you've also got this this other version, this Sie. And this is when you're talking to an adult, or you're talking to someone that you don't know. Generally, it is accepted in a German school that the teachers would be referred to as Sie. And if you were talking to, say, some parents of friends, you would always refer to them as Sie, unless they specifically tell you that you can use du. Normally, if they were going to do that, they would say, wir können uns duzen. Duzen. There's actually a verb for saying that we can use du. Okay, so it's actually quite a big deal. So it's something you really need to be aware of, because you also need to be aware of the context as to when someone is referring to you, as in you're a doctor, or you're a teacher, or you're an adult, and when you're talking about they. Now that comes from the context, because they both use an infinitive. And what I mean by that is quite simply, if I'm using the posh form, let's call it, of Sie, and I'm saying you swim, I would say, whoops, I wouldn't say whoops, I'd say Sie schwimmen. But of course, if I was using they, I would also say Sie schwimmen. So it's only going to become clear from the context who you're talking to and who you're talking about. Okay, and that's what we're going to look at now. So that's a brief overview. Okay, so let's look at how we can actually use this practically in the classroom. So, you have some students, like yourselves, sat down here, and they are all talking to the teacher. So there are actually two teachers in this room. Now, können Sie mir bitte helfen? Could you please help me? So this young lad is talking to the teacher. The teacher is then speaking to the student using du. Verstehst du das? Do you understand? So from the verb verstehen. Verstehen means to understand. So do you understand that? Verstehst du das? Können Sie bitte langsamer sprechen? Practice the pronunciation for this. Können Sie bitte langsamer sprechen? That's an inside joke, because it actually means, could you speak more slowly, please? Or could you speak slower, please? That's the only kind of thing that a teacher would find funny. I apologize. So, and also here, Herr Meier, darf ich das Fenster aufmachen? May I please open the window? She's referring to him as Herr Meier, as you would refer to your teacher as Herr or Frau. So, what does this actually mean practically? Basically, these sentences here, your job is to go through, if you've got the Logo 2 book, look at exercise 1b, look at the contexts of how these are being used. Now, bearing in mind we've got Herr Meier, and here we've got Frau Jensbach. Okay, so there are two teachers being referred to. Have a look at the questions for 1b and match up the English with how you would say it in German. So just to be sure that you've understood, make sure you take note of the following. If a student is speaking to a teacher, you're going to be using Sie. But if the teacher is speaking to the student, then he or she will be using Du. And all this means is that when you hear the verb, so let's use the verb machen, you know that there's going to be a different ending that you need to listen out for. So, for example, if it was Sie, let's keep it color coordinated, Sie machen, and if it's Du, you'd be listening out for, what's the ending? Go on. Machst. Okay? So, just to make sure you've absolutely understood which notes or what the notes are that you've written, have a go at that 1b exercise on page 10 and try and match up the numbers, so 1 through 10, with the letters in 1b, A through J. That will also give you a nice list to work with, which will help us in class. So, also gut, viel Spaß und viel Glück.